Welcome to Sleepover Cinema, where we analyze the films that created the collective unconscious of those who have been publicly forced serenaded by a dozen white boys with far too much confidence. I'm Hannah Leach, a writer, musician, audio producer, and former lady bass of an all-female a cappella group.
And I'm Audrey Leach, director, editor, producer, and victim of probably dozens of college a cappella concerts. We are the sister duo also known as Two Pink Productions, and we haven't stopped thinking about these movies since we first saw them.
We're going to explore the good, the bad, and the nonsensical of the movies that first inspired our love for film in an attempt to answer the question, are these movies actually good? And at the end of the day, do we really care if they are?
Today we are talking about 2012's Pitch Perfect.
Hi there, welcome to Barton University. Here's your official BU rape whistle. Don't blow it unless it's actually happening.
Hi, any interest in joining our music group?
Whenever you're ready, dude. Oh, not a dude.
We sing songs without any instruments. It's all from our mouths. Yikes. Sorry, I don't even sing. What's your name?
Fat Amy.
You call yourself Fat Amy?
Yeah, so twig bitches like you don't do it behind my back.
Oh my god! You can sing!
You have to join the Bellas.
I can't concentrate until you cover your junk. I'm not leaving here until you sing.
Bulletproof, fire away, fire away.
You have a lovely voice.
Thanks.
Oh boy, the bad boys of acapella have just gotten badder.
You girls are awesome. Lee Horrible, I Hate You, Kill Yourselves. Girl Powers!
This is a list of all of the songs that we have ever performed.
There's nothing from this century on here. It's not enough to be good. We need to be different. Our goal is to get to the finals. How are we paying for regionals? A bikini car wash is definitely out of the question.
No, Aubrey, I'm like super good at bikini car washes.
There will be no more wasting time with school or boyfriends. Can I trust you will add your own cardio?
Yeah, no, don't put me down for cardio.
What are you doing? Horizontal running.
Are you guys getting ready for the riff off?
What's a riff off?
Shorty, get down, good lord. Strictly bitch, you don't play around. Cover much ground, got game by the pound. I like the way you work it, no diggity. I gotta bag it up, baby.
Let's remix this business.
What boring estrogen-filled set have you prepared for us?
You guys are gonna get pitch slapped so hard, your man boobs are gonna concave.
I like the way you work.
We are delving into some dark shit
waters
today on Sleepovers. some dark, murky waters of my collegiate past, for sure, and also the collegiate and actually current day reality of our dear friend Brett Castro, who has a very large amount of clout in the collegiate a cappella landscape. But we have known Brett since Audrey was in 5th grade and I was in 7th grade, so he has witnessed much of our darkest timeline, and we are excited to have him join us in the second half. And I will make him list his ACCA credentials.
Accolades. His accolades.
His accolades.
That's bad.
That's really good. I am pulling off a win for feminism today in that I think this is the worst I've ever looked on camera for Sleepover by a very large margin, because you know what? A bitch has things to do. And I'm not going to censor myself from spewing my really important thoughts on this podcast because I look like shit. So for those watching the YouTube version, I have my NYU kleptomaniac sweatshirt on for thematic purposes, and then my NYU baseball hat. So basically, imagine me in the grips of depression in 2016. This is what I looked like.
But with brown hair.
But with long brown hair and like actively trying to fade into every wall that I walked by. Before we get to that, you all know what time it is.
It is time for the question for the culture.
The culture is super sick right now. It's actually really bad, period.
What immediately came to mind for me is something that I think about all the time, which is representations of extracurriculars in the arts in movies or TV. They are always lackluster to me. And is that because I have the personal experience and it cannot be replicated? Perhaps. But I have a few factors that I think contribute to why it never really adds up. You probably have noticed this. I have certainly noticed that people that were huge fans of Glee or similar shows, Pitch Perfect, similar media, usually do not have the personal experience. They're usually people that love music or they love pop or whatever. The reason I started thinking about this today was because I was rewatching that Netflix docuseries they did with Alyssa Edwards that like nobody talks about.
Yes.
It's called Dancing Queen. Yeah, like literally nobody talks about it, but I was rewatching it. And it is like the strongest possible pitch for a reality show, like ever. It's RuPaul's Drag Race and it's Dance Moms combined. That is the pitch. As soon as you get to the dancing segments, and this is the same issue that was on Dance Moms, is they never use the music that was used in real life for licensing reasons. And it completely...
Where have we experienced that?
It completely... But I would never do that. I would never replace, especially what they choose. They choose this like vibey, like just really awful stock music. It's not a dub. Like it's not like a good dub. It's just this really lazily chosen stock music. And it's stuff like that just completely like dismantles the fantasy. Like if you're trying to
it ruins the immersion.
Yeah, like if you're trying to understand what this environment is like, a competitive dance environment, competitive show choir, a cappella, it's those things that, do you know what I'm saying?
It's yes. It's like that's part of what takes it to the absurd level that makes it so funny in the first place. Like, okay, these girls and Dance Moms are about to stab each other to like a lyrical number to Big Girls Don't Cry by Fergie. It's like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like the music can be really funny and it adds a lot of flavor to what the experience is actually like.
It can be really, really good too. And when that is cut out for production reasons, it's like, why are we have to be so invested in the characters alone that we can't even appreciate the art necessarily that much. And all of these things are so based on intellectual property. Like the use of intellectual property is integral to the art of it and the competition of it. But that's so hard. Obviously in Glee and Pitch Perfect, they were able to buy those rights, and so they're able to use that stuff. But like, I also think another reason why it feels lackluster is usually because adults write it, and really the most untouchable thing about these experiences, it's like what happens when there's no camera, and like what happens that no adult could like reasonably think would happen in these situations. Like it's like larger than life. Like it can't really be captured because it's just so much more fucked up usually than you would ever think.
You're absolutely correct, and it is more fucked up than they could imagine, and it isn't like a weird update of Grease. It's never a weird update of Grease.
No.
It is like insane baby gays putting a hit out on each other. And then like the one straight boy having sex with everyone. Like that is the reality.
It's just there's always corruption, you know? I feel like a lot of times they don't that won't be the storyline because maybe that's, I don't know, not the most clean route, but
I will say in the beginning of Glee, it does start because of corruption,
it does.
Which is funny.
Yeah, Glee had
but
that. But
that's like the only time we get that.
And it still feels weirdly off. I don't know. I think there's just like a sanitization and like a Hollywoodification of these things that just doesn't translate. Ready to hear about Pitch Perfect?
Yes, let's get into these facts.
A little bit late in the canon for us, but not as late as GBF, so we're still in it. Pitch Perfect was released on September 28th, 2012. It was rated PG-13 for language, drug references, and sexual material.
Very scandalous.
It was directed by Jason Moore, who directed Pitch Perfect 1 and 2, Shotgun Wedding, Sisters, episodes of One Tree Hill, and Dawson's Creek. It was written by Kay Cannon, who has written on 30 Rock, Blockers, all the Pitch Perfect movies, and was a co-producer on Baby Mama. It kind of seems like these people, they're all roughly Tina Fey adjacent people.
You can extremely tell that this was written by someone like that.
Yeah, you really can. I'm doing this episode old-fashioned style today. I have not yet rewatched the movie because Brett and I are going to rewatch it shortly.
Yes.
But I just know that shit has not aged that well. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was also written by Mickey Rapkin, who has quite literally only written the Pitch Perfect movies, and I mean nothing else. That probably deserves a Google if that's what you're doing.
Yeah, okay, so he wrote the book called Pitch Perfect, The Quest for Collegiate Acapella Glory, which was like the source text for the movie. However, he also wrote Theater Geek, the real-life drama of a summer at Stage Door Manor.
Wow.
And I'm pretty sure Brett is in that book. Yes, so Stage Door Manor, for those who don't know, is this extremely fancy summer theater camp, Stage Door Manor, where like you have to be slaying to even go. I think you have to audition to even get in.
Yeah. It's like Ben Platt, Beanie Feldstein type theater kid shit.
Yes. We're going to have to ask Brett if he went to Stage Door Manor and if he's in that book.
Speaking of this dude, though, who wrote on all the movies, I must have blacked out in 2017 because I have no memory of there being a third one at all.
Same.
Okay, synopses.
IMDb. First of all, we gotta acknowledge the fact that this bitch spells her name BECA, just in case she wasn't already enough of her own individual free-thinking type of girl. Her name is Becca, but it's BECA. Becca, a freshman at Barden University, is cajoled into joining the Bellas, her school's all-girls singing group, injecting some much-needed energy into their repertoire, despite the fact that she has no personal energy. The Bellas take on their male rivals in a campus competition, followed by Letterboxd. College student Becca knows she does not want to be a part of a clique, but that's exactly where she finds herself after arriving at her new school. Thrust in among mean gals, nice gals, and just plain weird gals, Becca finds that the only thing they have in common is how well they sing together. She takes the women of the group out of their comfort zone of traditional arrangements and into a world of amazing harmonic combinations in a fight to the top of a college music competition. And then Rotten Tomatoes is the same as Letterboxd.
The tagline, there's one and one only, and it is get pitch slapped.
So painfully 2012.
Yep. Kind of hurts.
Not in it.
Okay, next. Cast. First, we have one Anna Kendrick as Becca. She's known for Up in the Air, Twilight, Into the Woods, Trolls, A Simple Favor. And I threw in the last 5 years because any well-versed theater kid knows that she's in that movie. Okay, Skylar Astin as Jesse. He's known for 21 and over. Wreck-It Rolf, if we remember. That is a deep cut.
Wreck-It Rolf.
That's a deep cut throwback. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, and more recently, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. To me, I know him from the original Broadway cast of Spring Awakening. That's like what I think of him in. And then Ben Platt as Benji. He's known for Dear Evan Hansen, The Politician, and I have to throw in a shout out to my friend Nikta, who worked on his latest film, actually. It's called Theater Camp, extremely relevant to also this episode, but it just premiered at Sundance. It's gonna get a theatrical release. It's a mockumentary. Brittany Snow as Chloe. She is known for Hairspray, Prom Night, and X. A legend in her own right. Anna Camp as Aubrey. She's really known for Pitch Perfect, but she also has appearances in The Help and on Mad Men, which tells me that when casting directors look at her, they see a white woman in a 1960s updo.
With questionable moral fiber.
Yeah, that's what they see. And I get that. Looking at her face, I kind of get that. Rebel Wilson as Fat Amy. She's known for Senior Year, Jojo Rabbit, and Bridesmaids, but she's been in a lot of comedies.
She just quickly just went through the whole weight loss thing and was very like, she did the thing where like she loses the weight and then she tries to distance herself from her former fat self as much as humanly possible. And she's also gay.
Yeah, she just got engaged in Disney World.
No.
Yeah. Yep. And
not that subject again.
Yeah. And then we have Esther Dina Cynthia Rose. This one threw me for a loop. So she's been a voice actor in Rio and Ice Age Continental Drift, and she's mostly known for these movies. But she's an extremely prolific writer and music video composer. And I don't know what exactly that job is. Like, why is it listed under composer and not producer or something else? Like, she's listed under Beyonce's Homecoming, a ton of Nicki Minaj videos, tons of Rihanna videos, like every like huge music video that you can think of, or just music video content. I think it has something to do with like music editing. I'm just not sure what. And then finally, I threw Elizabeth Banks in there because why not? She is playing Gail in this movie. She's known for Hunger Games, the Lego Movie, and just like every TV show. She has like spots on every TV show, but what's weird is that I feel I've never seen her in any of them. So
okay, it's really funny that you brought that up because while she was like commentating, I was like, I know this is a famous woman, but I like cannot place who it is. But now I know.
Well, she also has had an interesting career path. We've talked about it before. She produced and directed the 2019 Charlie's Angels that everybody hated and that she openly hated on people for not going to see. And then really recently, she directed Cocaine Bear, which is like super random, but good.
So the budget. The budget for Pitch Perfect was $17 million, and upon opening weekend, it earned $5,149,433 in 335 theaters. And then the worldwide gross is $115,350,426. So you can see why there were sequels.
Yeah.
And also, I just have to say, reading all those numbers just reminded me of how we originally got the lineup of how we read our episodes, which is normally you read the budgets because back in the day, I could not read that long of numbers without horrendously struggling. But I've grown since then.
Okay, the critic score was 81%, and the critic consensus is Pitch Perfect's plot is formulaic, but the performances are excellent, and the musical numbers are toe-tapping as well. And then a few critic opinions. The first one, luckily, Pitch Perfect has just enough flaws to almost keep us from making terrible puns around its title. But this fun... Wait, what? Are they saying they were going to call them bitches or something?
I think that's what they're going for, yeah.
But this fun comedy is good enough to leave an a cappella version of No Diggity stuck in your head for a week. Gross. Okay, second.
Gross.
Amusing though the movie can be, there's something missing in the warmth department. Like songs without accompaniment, its jokes lack any charm or liking for the characters. Yeah, I kind of agree with that one.
I agree.
Not to reveal.
I cannot wait to get to the second half.
I know, it's going to be good.
Boy, do I have opinions. Okay,
and then finally, Pitch Perfect combines the tuneful underdog triumphs of Glee with the sassiness of Bridesmaids to produce a sweet-sounding, wickedly funny movie.
Yeah, they just took like a giant mallet and like smacked this movie on the head. Like that, like projectile vomit.
Yeah, like come on.
It's tired.
I hate it.
It's tired. Oh God. And I just rewatched Bridesmaids because Audrey encouraged me to, so it was really on the mind.
Yeah.
And
the vomit, that's actually a perfect example of why throwing up works in Bridesmaids and it does not work in Pitch Perfect. And there's like a reason for that. The way that I would say it is that I recently was in this little Zoom talk back with Paul Feig, the director of Bridesmaids, and he was talking about this exact thing and how he hates gross out humor. Like he's like not into gross out humor for the sake of it, and he doesn't like love seeing women be crude for the sake of being crude. Like that's not what it's about. It was in the situation of Bridesmaids where they're in the bridal shop, a situationally comedic scene because Kristen Wiig's character is saying she's fine and Rose Byrne's character is like, are you hungry? And she's like, I would like a snack. And she's like eating the gross Jordan almonds while everybody's throwing up. And it's so clearly not okay. Versus in Pitch Perfect, somebody throws up, it's gross, somebody falls in it. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
There's no meaning behind it.
It's so funny. I like could not believe how much I was laughing out loud rewatching it. Like the whole thing when they're on the plane and Melissa McCarthy's like, you an air marshal? That whole thing is so funny. Especially because you can see her scene partner like laughing
her
at
husband.
her in parts of it. That's her actual husband? Oh my God, that's so cute. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Common Sense Media for Pitch Perfect. The movie is recommended for ages 13 and over. Parents need to know that Pitch Perfect, a winning musical comedy about a fiercely independent college student, will give teens and adults plenty to like. Expect some strong language, shit, bitch, dick, and one use of fuck, drug references, and underage drinking, though it's not heavily emphasized. There's also some kissing and lots of sexual innuendo and some sexual discussion, plus several jokes about a lesbian character's attraction to other women in the group. Although the young women portrayed here are, for the most part, strong and confident, sometimes a shaming word, slut, is used to refer to them.
Okay, audience score was 83%, and the Letterboxd average star rating was 3.4 stars. Pretty high. A little...
That is kind of
I'm
insane.
sensing a nostalgia rate here. I don't know.
Yes.
Okay, and then I've got a few Letterboxd opinions here. The first person said, people who can't enjoy this movie are boring and pretentious. I didn't make the rules. And when I read that, I was like, call me boring and pretentious, honestly. That's fine.
Yeah. Like,
I'll accept that.
If the shoe fits.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. The second one was, I miss when life was simple and my only problem was that I couldn't do the cup song.
I remember it well.
That was it. That we can talk about that in the second half for sure. We've got...
Yes,
we have real life applications for that one.
Yes, we do.
And then, okay, this one I thought was interesting and it's like more serious. So the third person said, the portrayal of queer women in film like Cynthia Rose in Pitch Perfect feeds into the reason so many young queer girls are scared to come out to friends and embrace their same-sex attraction. The other Bellas feel uncomfortable around her and make jokes behind her back, even publicly bringing up her potential partner in front of everyone in what I'm only assuming was meant to be comedic, but instead had me watching her reaction as she looked sideways in confusion or fear or whatever. It lessens the movie and sucks because they had an opportunity and could have had a gay woman laughing at her own jokes and comments, which a queer audience could have happily related to and laughed along with enjoyably, rather than her friends laughing at her expense and us watching in discomfort.
I agree. It kind of also reminds me of the Mean Girls thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's similar to that, which is crazy because this movie came out almost 10 years after. But I have a question for the culture part 2, kind of, that comes out of this, which I was thinking about this last night because I don't know if we're really going to talk about this with Brett because it's not super relevant to him.
Yeah.
For example, the Asian roommate. Like, the second she walked in and had an Asian roommate, I hadn't seen this movie in a really long time. I, like, knew where it was headed. And was like, oh, God. Because also it's a Tina Fey joint.
Yes.
Related to Tina Fey. So you already knew. But
what's her problem?
I feel like, and this came up with Glee, too. In Glee, there's a bunch of, like, really intense, like, token characters.
Yeah.
But
they talk about it, which is weird.
Well, right. And what my question is, and kind of what occurred to me is, like, I kind of feel like those characters were a really awkward entry into people trying to provide representation.
Yeah.
And it was like they were stumbling into it, and the only way they knew how to do it was with stereotypes.
Yeah.
And then it's like evolved over time. But it's so uncomfortable to watch now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think that is what it was. The same way it is now, you know, at the time, most of the people writing, most of the people directing, producing, they're all white people. So in 2012, they would have had that sense of we should be casting more diversely, but then they actually have no... they're not the ones to be doing it, essentially. They don't know how to do it right. And their antidote to that was just, like, making trope stereotype characters. But what's weird, like, just, like, watching it at the time, I never liked it. I always thought it was stupid. Like, I think we all knew that it was in poor taste, right? But so many people think this movie is funny, and I don't get it. Is it because they're reverting back to their 2012 selves?
It's the same way that, like, Gen Z people can look back at Glee and kind of, like, romanticize the cringe of it. Like, we all do that to a certain extent.
I mean, I like watching Glee.
I mean, right.
Insane.
Right. But I feel like for people a little bit younger than us who were, like, in middle school when Pitch Perfect came out or something, it may be easier to just, like nostalgia turn your brain off. I just wanted to circle back to one thing really fast, which is I feel like, especially using Glee as a reference point, diversity in groups of kids was used as this weird shorthand for being the underdog in stuff like this.
Yep. And like the competitive groups were usually whiter and richer. Like, usually.
Yeah.
Which is true to life, I mean, in a way.
If we learned anything through making the documentary, that's absolutely true. But also, I think, even in the movie, there's, like, an all-black group, and they're way better, too. Yeah. Like, there's something about the...
A ragtag group.
Yeah,
quote.
Yeah. That is... And again, the all-black group is, like, barely even heard from, obviously. It's more like they just have a moment there. But it's just really interesting how that used to be used as a tool in, like, tween media, and that's, like, not a thing anymore.
It's, like, less of a blockbuster trope.
Well, it's less of a punchline, too. Now it's just a lot closer to reality in some ways. / just, like, teenagers now and, like, tweens now, they've grown up with it at this point. Like, it's just normal. It's not so, like, groundbreaking to see.
Yeah, I definitely do remember that, especially when Glee first started, that image of all of them with the slushies and stuff. We're representing all kinds in this show, like, which is a Ryan Murphy thing. I mean, that's, like, one of the main pillars of his work. And it was a huge stepping stone. So regardless of the cringe, there was a lot of it, and it wasn't always it wasn't always right, but it was a stepping stone.
Okay, well, you haven't watched this movie yet, Audrey, but I did the thing that I do. Because I couldn't find it anywhere for free otherwise.
That's weird. Well, first of all, you can always find it for free.
I know. I could have watched, like, Put Locker, but I didn't. Do you remember when you first watched this?
No.
Me neither.
Oh, okay. Neither of us know.
At all. Nope. But I have seen it.
It had to be around 12 or 13. It had to be in maybe 2013. I don't know. I probably
saw it with you.
I think it does sort of fall into the what we've said about Glee, where it's like there was no urgency. I did not feel that I urgently needed to see it because I knew that it wouldn't give me what I wanted, which is why I've always favored documentaries, because in terms of this kind of thing, because at least they get a little bit closer. They might not be like perfect, but it's real people at least.
They may not be pitch perfect, but
good one.
Okay, go watch the movie. Audrey's gonna go watch it with Brett, our a cappella celebrity. We'll be back. Okay, everybody, welcome back. We hope that you really enjoyed your viewing of 2012's Pitch Perfect. And it is time to introduce our guest of honor, one Mr. Brett Castro.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Honestly, it's an honor, and when we realized that we had an a cappella expert in our inner circle, we were like, well, shit, we have to do Pitch Perfect now because we have the perfect guest.
Yeah. We had mentioned doing Pitch Perfect in the past, but I think we actually were avoiding it like the plague because...
Yes.
Like, I remember that came up once and we were like, no, I don't want to do it. But in this context, it makes sense to do.
When I was in New York a few weeks ago when we did the photo shoot, Brett was in the midst of finagling several a cappella arrangement and coaching deals. And so that inspired this idea.
Yeah.
So before we get going, Brett, I don't know how you want to explain your role in this landscape, but why don't you take a swing at it?
So I was in an a cappella group in college at NYU. I was the music director there, and our senior year we ended up winning the ICCAs, which is in the movie. I was surprised. I was like, did ICCA make any money off of that? Because they might need money.
Yeah.
And so after winning that, I just continued arranging with groups, working with groups, arranging for corporate things, sort of anywhere that a cappella is needed.
He answers the call.
I answer the call. And, I'm glad to be here. Former choir nerd with all of you. And so I just get to still be a choir nerd.
One thing that I feel the need for us to expand upon a little more is what your college a cappella group was actually like in comparison to the archetypal college a cappella group.
As we were watching the movie, I was like, they're kind of giving a cappella a really good name, and they're not it's not too far off. There was a lot of pettiness, definitely. Always is. We tried to cut down on that, so it wasn't too stereotypical like that. I was like the parties,
hazing,
the sex, the hazing, is all it's dramatized in the movie, but it was there.
Yes, and
did you have that experience? Okay, well, you were also in an a cappella group.
Yes. So, okay. Well, first of all, I feel the need to clarify that. Can I say the name of your group? Does it matter?
Yeah.
So, Brett was the music director of the NYU Enharmonics, which he's not coming out and saying this, and I don't know why. It was the only a cappella group other than the one quote unquote good boy one that had an ounce of clout at all, but. They had a shitload of clout because it was only the really, really good people got into it. If you were in NHarms, it was oh shit, that person's really good. Which leads me to
sure, yeah. I guess
the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Which is okay. So NHarms was basically high performance artistry.
In this life, you're on your own.
While on the other end of the spectrum, you had the a cappella group I was in. And now, I have zero regrets about being in this group. It was an all-girls group. I was in it all 4 years. And I auditioned for that one specifically because all through high school, I was like the go-to super low girl singer. And I was like, it's a girls group. They're gonna need low singers. I'm not ugly. I'm gonna make it in. And so I did. And I did it for 4 years, and it was weird because at the beginning of the era I was in it, there's this really weird energy of like all female groups host all male groups, and there's this like pressure to like bring one of them home with you, but
Wait,
they're always
really?
like gross boys.
Ew.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, see, no,
Which
we
is
were,
so
we were,
funny
we
because
were
like
just in group.
It was all in
We were
group,
in-
mingling.
Right.
Yeah.
Fraternizing.
Right. Ours was not like that. And
But isn't half
it's
your-
so funny because almost.
I was going to say.
Yes.
Isn't
Yes.
that like most of the group gay anyway? So what does that mean?
Yes. Yes. But it was before anyone was like, you know, I feel like even between like 2015 and now things have
Yeah.
come so far. So yeah, no
Wait, so the
one was out.
kleptomaniacs and the vocaholics were canoodling behind the scenes.
So-
I really wouldn't have
Well,
seen that coming.
No. So the interesting thing is that it wasn't groups on the same campus. It was like we would host a group from like Cornell
Sure,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Oh, so
And then
strangers.
that would yes.
Yeah. No, that happened with us too. When we would go to other
Yeah.
schools, visit other schools, it was like definitely you were like, you know, there were some people trying to hook up with, or some people just trying to
Yeah.
get laid that night.
I feel like the girls that had come before us really leaned into that, but everyone was like in the closet, so it just wasn't.
It just died
wasn't
there.
happening. It died, and everyone belted as if they were singing their own solo all the time in every single song that we did ever, and we sounded bad. And we rehearsed 3 times a week, and we still sounded bad, which is really funny.
You rehearsed 3 times
So
a week?
that's that. Yes,
not?
but
We
the
rehearsed
problem
twice a
is
week.
the problem was that there were so many big personalities, and nobody wanted to be the one to be like, please don't scream, because everyone was such a bitch that it
Right.
would just turn into a huge fight. It was just like divas on divas,
it was
and
like
to our
when I-
detriment.
When I became music director, I was like, shut down all the divas so that we can all get along too.
Yeah.
Because it was like way more
Yeah.
fun. My first year was like so much pettiness, so much like going to rehearsals like sucked so much. So it's just like better to be friends.
Audrey, did you ever wish that you did a cappella in college?
No, I didn't wish that. Like, obviously, that would have been fun because I didn't get to sing. Like, I had no performance, like, outlet. I still don't. Like, I haven't since high school, really. So, yeah, that would have been fun. But I never actually thought, like, I'm going to audition because, first of all, you were in the girl one and you were in the good one. So, what was I going to do?
Yeah.
There was nowhere for me to go.
Yeah. You could have been in the girl one so easily. We were also the only girl one.
Yeah,
is
you
one
know,
important thing.
It is
to clarify.
actually kind of funny that I didn't do. I don't know. I think
You could have been a legacy.
I mean, we literally
Yeah.
sounded bad, so that may have
I
been
think
part of it.
maybe that might have been why. I think I just felt like it was your thing and it was your friends, and I like didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't like feel the call to crash your party, I guess.
I feel like we could do a whole episode just talking about this. So perhaps not, though, because we're
Yeah.
talking about Pitch Perfect.
But still relating to your experience, though, I did want to talk about the hazing
Yeah.
aspect because
Sure.
there's like a moment in Pitch Perfect where there's like a hazing scene. A lot of people would probably watch that and be like, there's no way. Like, there's no way that that actually happens in any form. But Brett, when we were watching it, Brett was like, no, that is real.
Yeah, I don't know if the unharms are allowed to haze anymore. I mean, we called it initiation. It was not hazing. But I don't know if we're allowed to do it anymore because of, I think, some complaints. But my one of the years that I was not being hazed, but it was things like learn, you know, you had to learn a 5-part arrangement in 24 hours, you know, like oh my god. I mean, some things like you had to learn a dance, you had to go run a crap ton of errands and get sex toys and get whatever and blah, blah. Come dressed up as whatever we tell you to dress up as.
Okay, so it's nothing like actually bad.
No, and then you're just like kind of fake mean to them. You tell them that we would tell them that at the end of the night, one of you is getting cut to see if it would scare them. My freshman year when I was getting hazed, when they first said that, I thought they meant like cut by a knife.
Or getting cut.
Oh, shit.
I thought, and I was like, there's no way. I was like, do they think we're idiots? Like, what are they going to do? Like slice my wrist?
Now that would be actually bad.
Yeah.
But we did haze. We did dislocate somebody's knee during one of the dance segments. Their knee got dislocated, so it was like a bunch of like fucked up 20-year-olds.
I feel like
trying
that's on
to deal with that. But it definitely was like weird things that you'd have to like, you know, maybe like I don't know, like weird chants or like weird things that you had to agree to, whatever that was true.
We did not do hazing weirdly. I mean, I think in some ways, like surviving the intergroup tension was hazing to a certain extent. And one thing I wanted to say too is you guys would always do ICCAs. We never, ever, ever did ICCAs, but
they're doing it now.
I know they do it now, and it's so funny because everyone else in my grade always sends each other videos of them practicing, and everyone is always just like, "Thank God that wasn't us." And I'm like, "Yep, agreed."
Because like doing ICCAs is so intense. It really takes it to a whole other vibe. In rehearsals, within group dynamics, it's like, are we gonna take this seriously? Are we gonna like really, really try? Or if you don't compete, we just have fun. Your focus is on having fun.
Right.
It's like two huge different vibes if you compete in the ICCAs or if you don't.
To those who don't know, Brett was also in show choir with us back in the day. And I'm curious if you think that like that pressure cooker like gave you tools to be able to apply the same sort of musical bullying later.
1,000%. Yeah. Would you say musical bullying?
Yes.
Musical bullying.
Yes. I wrote. Yeah. Honestly, it did. Like, I could control a group of like teenagers, which is really invaluable in that setting.
But it's peers, which was interesting. Yeah. It's hard to control people the same age as you.
Show choir also helped me in the direction of it all, in like the show of it all.
Yeah.
Because for ICCAs, you're like putting on a competition show. Like it's a different vibe than if you're putting on an a cappella show. And so I feel like it helped me there to be like, in choreography, it's all like show choir and pictures.
I'm definitely putting your show in this podcast. Like,
wait, it's actually really cool though. Do you want to just like briefly explain what it was?
You can be Anna Kendrick explaining a mashup right now.
I can't wait. Anna Kendrick thinks she's like God with creating mashups.
And like
bulletproof. I know.
It's
the one mashup that played was so bad.
Yeah.
Was so bad. I forgot what it was, but it was so bad.
It was Bulletproof and something else.
And like some old song or something.
Yeah.
My 2019 ICCA championship show.
Let's hear it. A breakdown.
It started off with Mozart. The overall concept was sort of stemmed from singing Mozart in high school, which I did with Hannah and Audrey.
Yes.
And so I love that so much, and it's super cool, and really a cappella for a long time has been very pitch perfect-y. Very like happy, glad, very like top 40 type deal. Yeah. So we had Mozart throughout the set. We did a bunch of like indie songs that not a lot of people have heard of, that were basically just recommendations of songs that people were listening to in the group. The whole show was really inspired by me being like, what have I not seen? Like literally doing everything from choreography to how we looked to how we acted on stage. You know, I felt like I was like, let's act like professionals.
There was like a seriousness to it, I guess.
Yeah.
And we just got everybody to buy in, which is the hardest part in any a cappella group.
Well,
is getting everybody to buy in.
Bro, you're telling me.
It's like,
holy fuck.
That's what I tell every a cappella group that I work with. I'm like, if you can get if everybody can buy into this, you're already ahead of 90% of the competition.
It's like if you don't commit all the way to the bit, you might as well not be doing the bit at all.
Right. And so so luckily we had
100%.
everybody commit, and so it turned out really, 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 really good. And we just had amazing people in the group.
Singers.
Like we just got really lucky that year.
So like right off the bat in the movie, the judge, or not even the judges, the commentators in the back of the auditorium, the immediate connotation of like the girls group is shit. Like we hate the girls group and the guys group is amazing, you know, like that was the immediate comment, and then that like perpetuates throughout the whole movie. And so I feel like we can talk about how that translates to real life too. Like I was saying that like I don't remember all male a cappella groups at NYU. I just never came in contact with them, so I know they existed. Brett says they did, so apparently they did.
They do. So the first time I ever heard that sentiment that like male groups were just period better was in high school when I was doing barbershop.
Right.
And I don't remember who it
That
was.
makes
It might have been I think it might have been motherfucking
Definitely.
was
Definitely.
like was like male quartets are just better. And basically the way he presented the information, you would never want to be like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But like objectively, it is unfortunately true, just in that like
because of the range,
women can only get so deep. Yeah. It's like, because men can sing pretty fucking high in falsetto, so it's like male spectrum is this big, female spectrum is like that big, and like even if you're really precise and like in tune, it's just not gonna like
be the full
hit the same
range.
way. But I did take a note of that like immediately upon hearing
I mean,
it.
they were literally immediately like shitting on them so hard. I was like, okay, like
But
I
all
think-
male groups are rarely any better as a rule.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I think all gendered groups just kind of like it's like why you're just
uh,
making yourself worse.
You're making it harder for yourself.
Unless it's for the gimmick of it.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Right, which
is often for the gimmick.
Oh, it's almost 100%.
Male groups are pure gimmick, and they're also so horny, and I hate it. I'm like, get away. I don't like it. They all think they're fucking Frankie Valli in the Four Seasons. And I hate it. Like, I don't want to see your matching striped ties. Please pack it up.
I know. Yeah, the outfits in Pitch Perfect were pretty spot on in like the cringe-worthy.
Yep. Yeah.
Especially even today, it's like we're still stuck in 2012 in a cappella
land, yeah.
of like terrible outfits.
Okay, so at finals for ICCAs, let's say that there was an all-female group and an all-male group that made it, like, that were really good. At the finals, is there like mixed division winners, or is it everyone competing?
No, it's just everybody, because they introduced the octave pedal in the recent years.
Oh,
which is real.
You're allowed to do that?
Yeah, it's the bass. You can request it, and the sound engineer in the house will do it, and you can octave your bass, which really changed the game for
female groups.
For females, yeah. It's nice for every group because you get that extra octave, but it's huge now because you can just have a way bigger sound.
Are the groups that you've been helping, are any of them doing that?
Yeah, it's kind of standard now because unless you're singing a ballad where you really want the vocals to be like choral, it's like, why not just have that bass energy pumping?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, so that actually brings up one of my points, which is that at the very end of the movie, when the Bellas are performing, they're like, wow, they're so good now. And it's because their bass is just full man bass.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like they get a better beatboxer, right? The quiet girl presumably starts to beatbox.
Okay, they don't like really fully show that. I'm not sure.
They also show like one of the random extra girls like beatboxing in a previous scene, and I'm like, so did she just lose her job?
Like who's the
right?
And there are also moments in the movie where they're performing and nobody is beatboxing. You can hear the beatboxing, but nobody is doing it with their mouth.
Yeah. I was laying there watching the movie, and I was like listening to the bass part, and I started humming with it because I was like, if I can't sing it, no girl really can. And I couldn't at all. And I was like, yeah, this is not real.
Legend has it.
Brett
I
has
have
a
it
fun
on good
fact.
authority that it actually is a woman singing that. Because they apparently had a guy singing that part, and then the sound engineer felt that it sounded too much like a guy.
Oh my God.
And so they just found...
They found a woman.
She was on the Sing Off, amazing singer.
Oh my God, the Sing Off.
Yeah.
I forgot about the Sing
A
Off.
lot of the...
I
I feel like a lot of the voices from Pitch Perfect were definitely sourced from the Sing Off.
Yeah. We didn't even bring up Acapella Academy, or your pentatonics, whatever.
I know. I thought about that too. I was like, it just occurred to me.
Brittany Snow's character, the one with nodes, she says, I can't sing above a G sharp, ever again in my life. And then when we were watching the final performance,
She's like, it's definitely above a G sharp.
Yeah.
I was singing it to myself, and I was like, it's at least a B flat. Come on.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Immediately went against that one.
I mean, and okay, well, so Audrey and I were talking about this in the first half of the episode, which is how this movie and how Glee are representations of performing arts hobbies that are clearly meant for people that don't get how they work. Mm-hmm. They just like watching it.
Yeah.
And that is a really good example of how that applies.
So after the years of that Pitch Perfect came out, I remember being at a cappella events and people trying to do riff offs.
Really?
Where people
in that same style?
Where people spontaneously create arrangements. And I will say, with certain groups of people who are extremely talented, sure, you can kind of make an arrangement on the fly and it's impressive and sounds cool. Uh-huh. But it's when you're at,
in the pool.
At Boston University, wherever... And you're all 19 and, most of these people are biology majors.
It's not going to work
It's not going to work. And it's tragic. Yeah. And you try and it's 10 minutes later, everybody just gives up.
Defeated.
Oh my God.
It just can't happen in real life.
A couple weeks ago, the prom queens were practicing and we were hitting a fucking wall and we just decided to learn a barbershop arrangement of I've been working on the railroad instead. And it was amazing and so fun, and I have to record it and send it to you. We had the PDF on all of our phones. We're zooming in. It was so good. I got to sing baritone for the first time. That shit's
so fun.
It is really fun.
Satisfying. It's
so specific. Yeah. Okay.
That's the power of acapella right there. That's the power of singing together and vocal music. Well, that's what I'll also say about acapella is as cringe and lame as it is, I think it's the best music ever, or the best activity ever. Mm-hmm. It's very in terms of music, it's the most natural thing coming from a human body. Then you're collaboratively having to bring together all of your bodies, sounds that your bodies are making, in order to create beautiful music. Because it's very spiritual to take part in, and it can be very spiritual to experience, just watch as well. Mm-hmm. But just especially to be in, it's definitely it can be a very religious experience of just singing together, and you're really in sync, and you find that state of flow. What's it? Entrainment, where your bodies start pulsing together and stuff.
Ooh. I like that word.
We literally said ooh in the exact same way at the exact same time. I agree with you. I at School of Rock, all I do is like teach harmonies to kids, and like getting them to get it is so satisfying, and then they all become cute little like harmony monger children. It's great.
The like popularity and commercialism of a cappella music was like at an all-time high around 2012, 13, 14, somewhere in there, with like the sing-off, pentatonics, Pitch Perfect, all that stuff. And like Hannah, in the past, we've like, or like if pentatonics comes on, Hannah's like, Hannah does not like that, and I think it's so funny.
I'm just like,
you're a hater?
You don't, because here's the thing, like what you're describing is really kind of more of an in-person experience.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, like the commercialization of it and the recording of it, and that really like computery sounding, polished like a cappella music is like a different thing almost. I don't know how you feel about it, but I know how she feels about it.
Tell me your thoughts on it first.
I think that if the recording is like a live recording with good mics, I'm interested in hearing it. But if it is like an engineered recording, I just feel like it kind of defeats the purpose.
It's hard to be like competitive in music if you don't sound, if you just took a live recording, there's no way it'd sound like
it couldn't compete.
It couldn't compete, which is what Pentatonics were like very expressly trying to compete.
Yeah, with on the broad market.
In a broad market.
Yeah,
which impressively they did. Well,
I guess to your point, you're correct. Like if you are trying to like make it, sure. But I guess to me, when I think a cappella singing, I think of it more as like, as you were saying, like a communal in-person physical experience versus like, I'm never gonna get in my car and be like, yeah, play me that arrangement of like fucking Silent Night from 2011. Like I just am not.
Speak for yourself. You know I'm listening to choral music and shit in the car. Okay.
Well, no. Choral music, there's a difference between like Glee-esque, like very heavily automated a cappella recording and choral music.
Yeah.
It's the former that pisses me off.
I definitely can get into that. Yeah. It's just so
it's not
perfect
for me,
sounding. It's like it's satisfying in that way.
I also think that part of my distaste for this is based on the fact, fucking Klepto's coming back again, is that we would record albums, but they didn't sound like us at all. Like they were really sweetened and like really like overly manipulated. And I'd always be like, okay, well, if we can sound like that, then anyone can sound like that.
Like cheating.
That's right. That's just how I felt about it.
Yeah, I always felt that college groups that were sweetened too much, it was like, what's the point? Because you don't, it's like, to me, I'm like, the recording is more of a memento than anything.
Right.
It's not,
you're not like putting this out on the...
You're not trying to make it big. So it's like, why not have
Make it more
sound
raw?
Yeah, like why not have it sound like you remember it sounds?
Yeah.
After Pentatonics, after Pitch Perfect, that's just like what you did to a cappella music. That was just
the new procedure.
Yeah, anytime any group recorded, it was like, let's auto-tune the shit out of it. Take out any imperfections, line everything up so there's like everybody cuts off at the same time. It's like
inorganic.
Yeah, and you can feel it definitely in the recordings.
You know what, Audrey? We should put in a clip of us singing one of our songs at a concert and then compare it to a clip of the recording. Yes.
That would be funny.
Because it's so funny. I feel that the fundamental issue with this movie is that Anna Kendrick is the absolute most hateable and boring protagonist that I've ever seen in a movie.
Cheers to that.
They want her to be alt so badly, and she's literally like Sarah Bareilles. Like, it's not even close.
That's what I'm saying. That's what we were saying.
She just comes across as an asshole.
And you know what I realized since we recorded the first half, where we realized how like Tina Fey this whole production is? Does she not strike you as a like mini Tina Fey character here? She kind of looks like her. Like they look
she
similar.
Does.
She just reminds me of the girl who always got the lead when you were in high school.
Are you talking about me?
Are you the girl who always got the lead in high school?
Like,
he was the girl. Yes.
Also, like her cup song was like the most underwhelming thing in the whole world.
Oh yeah, we need.
I was like, when it started, I was like looking forward to it because I remember like all the covers being lit.
But the covers were way better than what was in the movie.
Exactly. The movie was like so underwhelming, and everybody thought she was the best.
I want to know if you guys think that the presence of Anna Kendrick's boobs being out for no reason makes her more alternative.
And like hate your father who's provided you a free education.
She like tries to engineer her parents' seemingly not that bad divorce as her foundational trauma, and I just don't buy it.
It's the dad seems like the dad seems like a good guy. You know, like
I know.
Like the dad is
it's sad.
Trying his best and he's doing a good job and she's just being awful to him.
I also love in movies when they have like fake software that they use, and the audio software is really pleasing in this one.
I think it's based off of Serato Pro, which is a DJ software.
Okay.
So if she's trying to make mashups and remixes, I guess she would be using that software.
I really want to know like why or at least my period of high school, like why people were so thirsty for a mashup. Like what was the draw? They did it on Glee a lot, if you may remember.
It might have things like really musically in like the acapella and the Glee show choir kid community. Like Glee and Pitch Perfect really did do a lot.
Changed
really
a lot very quickly.
Influenced the culture.
Yeah.
People don't often give them the credit, but it's like without Pitch Perfect, like it made the ICCA so much more popular. It made being in a college a cappella group so much more popular. It made the Pentatonics able to create their own independent career on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like without Pitch Perfect, it wouldn't be how it is
was
today.
Pitch Perfect before the Sing Off, or was were they at the same time?
I think the Sing Off was before.
Because Pentatonics was on the Sing Off, right?
Yes, but I think they really started popping off and having commercial success after Pitch Perfect, 2012.
The fact that Brittany Snow discovers Anna Kendrick singing in the shower, which is the same shit from Glee. And then I think my favorite line in the entire movie, which is when she goes, "You know David Guetta."
I wrote that. I literally wrote that. That is the only line I wrote down. Was that one.
And the way she's like cowering up against the wall,
so
like,
serious.
"You know David Guetta."
You know David Guetta?
She's like so
It's fucking
impressed.
Titanium.
Yeah, like this is a mainstream pop song. I'm confused.
Yeah. Also, I thought
that
it was
was
funny when they started singing and she like immediately started singing a really specific alto part. I'm like, right. You know, it's not believable, and I know that's not the point, but I noted that. Just very 2012 with the deaf Jews thing at the club fair. Why are we bringing that in? Just Audrey and I were talking in the first half about how there's like really unnecessary like invoking of minority groups in this movie
like
for
brutal.
no reason.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about what to say or to not say about Fat Amy.
That's a hard one.
And I feel like I've been in this position before, but I've also seen people in this position a lot, which is like in groups of women where there has to be one fat one and that the fat one has to be comedic relief as a means of like making them like ingratiating themselves to the group. Like, and I feel like that in Pitch Perfect is like, it's like a strangely true to life choice.
But they're bringing
it.
They're talking about it in such a blatant way that is normally not. Like normally it's a little more under the surface than that.
I kind of like it.
I say it's
Appreciated
progress that they didn't peg her as the bass.
Right.
That's true.
That's true.
They're like,
That is
okay, you're
actually
automatically singing low.
It's not like she's the one projectile vomiting or like shitting or something.
Yeah.
Like her dignity is actually pretty intact.
Well, I was like, she's the one you're kind of rooting for.
More
you're
than
not
anyone
really
else.
rooting
You're
for
not
Anna
rooting
Kendrick.
for the main character, and everyone else doesn't really have problems. Everyone else is just kind of silly.
Regionals. Gotta go to regionals.
Bro.
Even though regionals do
gotta
not
go to
exist.
regionals.
Regionals do not exist in acapella, in show choir,
anything.
in anything. There
Nope.
are no regionals.
Nope.
They only exist in Glee.
Nope. And that is so funny because I thought the same thing when they brought up regionals. I was like, not regionals again. Like, that is not a thing. And I'm glad you guys clocked the same thing.
I was surprised that they kept basically the entire structure of the actual competition. 3 competitions.
Yeah.
You know, going on to fight to the top 2 move on.
Yeah, because normally when competitions are translated to film, they just cut down to the final. Or it'll be 1 and then final.
Yeah.
So the guy who is like facilitating the auditions, that's McLovin from Superbad.
Yes. It is. What
and
the
as
hell?
it was going, I was like, is that fucking McLovin? Yeah, it's McLovin.
We did. I feel like we both enjoyed the fact that the audition song was Since You've Been Gone. Like, everybody has to sing Since You've Been Gone. And it's like a audition for every group at once. Like, almost.
And in the same key.
Yeah.
All of it. Yeah. It felt like I kind of enjoyed the concept of it being like a draft.
Right.
Kind of.
Like a draft. That's what I thought.
Yes. I actually feel like that kind of happened. Brett, am I making that up? That it was like once people decided who they want to let in, there was like talks among groups sometimes.
Occasionally,
I'm sure that didn't apply to Enharmonics.
Yeah, I will say since we were the better group on campus, if we wanted somebody, the person would come to us.
Yeah.
Like, we wouldn't have to fight another group over them. If other groups told us they had interest in somebody and we were on the fence about them, then we would, and they really wanted them, then we would kind of give them to the other groups.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.
It was our moment of charity.
You were like, I guess they can take our scraps. Yeah. Yeah, I think we are basically done. Okay.
Should we make a chord?
Me, Audrey, and Josh really do bring the 3-part harmonies when Audrey's at home. We do a lot of that, which is fun.
That's good. I'm jealous.
Yeah, it's fun.
Let's officially wrap this bitch up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it good? Is it a good
No.
movie?
I vote yes.
Discord. Woo!
Okay. Give me your spiel about why.
I wasn't bored.
Okay.
That's
And
my
the
threshold
first-
for if I like a movie or
That
not.
speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Okay, that is like Brett, I don't think you know how much I relate to that litmus test. That's literally all I ask for also. I was really very entertained until about halfway through, and then it became harder for me to focus. But the first half I thought was great. You know what? Okay. I don't think it's good, but our follow-up question to this is it worth watching?
Yeah.
And
or rewatching.
I would say sure.
It's like fun. It's a fun time. And even if you don't think it's funny, you might think it's funny in retrospect. Like, I can't believe that this is what this movie is. So either way,
Yes.
I think you can find joy in watching it.
It was definitely better to do a rewatch with somebody.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how you should do it.
Yeah.
Not
Watching it
alone.
alone would be like really
So depressing.
sad. This one.
Yes. That's what I did.
Yeah.
So I think, though, at the very least, we can give it some sort of credit or salute to perhaps spread the gospel of a love for singing.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Perhaps.
I mean, it definitely inspired thousands in some way.
Yeah, I mean, culturally, at least just for acapella, it was huge. It's,
Yeah.
it's the biggest thing of ever for acapella.
I mean, it's the only thing, really.
You know? Like, they're just everybody. Like, you know, I have a bunch of friends who are making, you know, 6 figures off of acapella, and it's because of Pitch Perfect. They're like making a full life from acapella, which is
amazing.
which is a great thing.
Josh is busting down the door.
Oh my god, that was scary.
Josh, shut up!
Hold on, Josh is getting all flustered.
You can just give him
do
his note.
Just give him the dominant 7. Yeah, you couldn't hear it.
That was
but
very jazzy. Brett, our acapella expert in residence, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
We learned a lot, I feel like.
We did learn a lot. It was some good conversation. Brett, where can our listeners find you, your music, your life?
Anything.
Where are you at?
You can find my music on Spotify. You can find me on Instagram, brettcastro.wave. You can find me on the streets of New York City, living my best life alongside Audrey Leach. And
so true.
You can find me visiting home in Cleveland, hanging out with Hannah.
Okay, well, on that note, Audrey, you already know what time it is.
You can listen to more of Sleepover Cinema.
Just kidding, I have
at
it.
evergreenpodcast.com.
I have it.
/sleepover /cinema /leeches for life.
Okay. You can find more from us at evergreenpodcast.com /sleepover-cinema and keep up with our latest creative projects at twopinkproductions.com. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Sleepover Cinema and post a full video version of each episode on YouTube every Thursday. You can follow me, Audrey, at Audriana Leach on everything.
And you can follow me, Hannah, at Hannah Ray Leach on Instagram and at Lana Von Trapp on Twitter. And of course, you are always welcome to join our Discord server at the link in the episode description or on evergreenpodcasts.com.
You can check out our merch at twopinkproductions.com/shop and our Casetify code, which is 15 Sleepover.
Okay, if you love Sleepover Cinema, and perhaps in this instance, if you were in an a cappella group in college, if your partner was in an a cappella group in college, if you've seen a lot of a cappella groups, if you love them, if you hate them, etc., send this episode to a friend or an Anna Kendrick stan so they can get mad at us.
Yeah,
with
so
haste.
Sorry to them.
Just do that.
Yes. Sleepover Cinema is a production of Evergreen Podcasts, produced, edited, and engineered by us, Hannah and Audrey Leach. Sleepover Cinema is mixed by Sean Roll Hoffman with theme music by Josh Perlman Hall. Executive producer is Michael D'Aloia. Bye.
We'll be back soon.
Bye.
Bye.